just past the holidays. Merry Christmas and Happy Holidays, and maybe you got a Switch for Christmas. So I thought I'd go through my Switch collection and maybe come up with a few recommendations, some hidden gems. And this is just the physical games. I mean, there's a lot of games on the Switch. It only came out like a year and a half ago, and already it's just been flooded by quality software, in my opinion. So far, it's probably my favorite system. I mean, has just such a wealth of amazing games for everyone. So you're gonna see a lot of these games that are still sealed. I mean, everything here is bought with the intention to play, but you know how it is. You know, you work at a job that has been had downsizing, and then you have to work even longer hours because you're lacking people there, and as the days goes by, you're just constantly tired and stressed out, and you don't really feel like doing anything. Even on your days off, you don't even feel like playing video games. You go to bed at night, but you can't really sleep because you keep having all these ideas running through the head of stuff you want to do. And just before you finally pass out, 2 hours before you have to go to work, you're filled with disappointment that you know you're gonna get up and it's just gonna be another day where you're not gonna get anything ever done. And it's disappointment in yourself, mostly for the fact that you promised everyone that you were gonna make more YouTube videos and you didn't. But anyway, here's ARMS. I want to say that they really kind of messed this one up because, well, let's take Splatoon for instance. These are two relatively new Nintendo franchises, but what they kind of messed up with ARMS that they didn't do with Splatoon is that ARMS doesn't really have any peripheral stuff. I mean, Splatoon has a whole universe about fashion, about post-apocalyptic squid battles, and ARMS has some designs, but not really anything around it. I don't know how much you can do with a versus fighter like this, but they could have tried harder to make more of the universe and make you feel more in sync with the characters in the game. There was a lot of early games that really showed that the Switch console was gonna be like a true console for like indie fans, and that's partly because physical releases of this games like Binding of Isaac and Cave Story Plus. Now, granted, this has been available everywhere, but these packages from Nicalis are just super nice. They also put some nice quality manuals in their games, so there's something to look at. And some extra goodies. You see, here's some stickers for Binding of Isaac behind the manual here, and here we have a mini soundtrack for Cave Story Plus. Nicalis is in general like a great publisher. They put out a lot of really awesome games on the Switch, in my opinion. Time Barbarian, a cute little run and punch guys game. Code of Princess, one of the many games I haven't played yet. Because it's still sealed, but it's like a side-scrolling brawler. Blade Strangers, really good fighting game. And finally, here we have Wonder Boy and the Dragon's Trap, another one I haven't played yet. Speaking of Blade Strangers here, this really great fighting game, there are others that I were very hyped for, but unfortunately they didn't deliver. This one, SNK Heroines Tag Team Frenzy. This game is unfortunate. It looked like it was going to be good on the surface. It looked like it was going to be a sequel to Gals Fighters on a Neo Geo Pocket Color, but that wasn't the case. It controls weirdly. You can't duck. You can't just knock out your opponent. You have to finish them with an ultimate attack. And it seems like it's a game that they intentionally kind of simplified to make it more accessible. But then there's a lot of things to do with, there's a lot of rules around chaining attacks and stuff. And Blade Strangers doesn't have that. That's just straightforward Street Fighter 2 knockoff with a ton of great characters from games published by Nicalis and other indie games like Shovel Knight is in this one, for instance. But if you want to talk fighting games, the real classics, you gotta get this one. Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection. They put out Street Fighter 2 a whole bunch, Street Fighter 3 a couple of times, but this one is great. You also get all the alpha games. So only some of them have online multiplayer, but I mean, they run great. They look great, and they play really well, especially if you have a fight stick on your Switch. Speaking of course, the success of the Switch was in part because of this game, Zelda Breath of the Wild. It's okay, it's an open world game, it's not... they really did some refreshing stuff to the Zelda series, but it's not my favorite Zelda game on the console. It's this one, Hyrule Warriors. Actually, I haven't played it on Switch yet, but I played it plenty on the Wii U, and it's great. I love these Musou kind of games, and it's generally like a great kind of fan service gameplay mechanic, like having a Musou game and matching and mixing all these great characters into it. And speaking of Musou, we can't forget Fire Emblem Warriors. It's the same stuff, but with the Fire Emblem Warriors. I haven't actually played this one yet. If you wanna nugget back to indie games that technically are available elsewhere, but also on the Switch, you got games like Dead Cells, which is great because this game really made all these other 2D roguelite, Dark Souls inspired games redundant. Because this one is the best one of those. So, I mean, they don't have to make any more of those. Please and thank you, indie developers. The Darkest Dungeon, everyone probably know about this one. But I played it for the first time this year, since it came out physically on the Switch with all the DLC, and this game is great. Very interesting dungeon crawler that has some kind of, I don't want to use the word Cthulhian maybe, but it has a lot to do with plays kind of like Call of Cthulhu, where insanity is just a bigger factor as your physical health. Speaking of games, I always love to buy a game on the Switch. How about these ones, old retro classics re-released? Namco loves putting out Pac-Man again and again, but this one is great because not only do they have Pac-Man, you have Pac-Man Championship Edition, but they also put Splatterhouse on there. It's been a while since Splatterhouse been out physically on a console, and same thing goes for the Rolling Thunder games, which are also on this one. The first Rolling Thunder was probably one of the first arcade games I ever played, so it has huge nostalgia feeling for me. Another fantastic collection, the SNK 40th collection. Let me see if I can actually find the card. Here we go, SNK 40th collection. This is just a fantastic compilation of all the pre-Neo Geo games, because the Neo Geo games are certainly available on the Switch or digitally. There's a wealth of digital games on it, but this one is all the pre-Neo Geo stuff. A lot of their old games like Ikari Warriors and stuff had rotary joystick where you had to like rotate the stick to shoot in all directions, but they modified them to play as dual joystick shooters, which works fantastic. And they also have a lot of old NES games, old NES versions, like POW. I think the NES version is superior to the arcade version because you've got power-ups and a great way to learn them is that they include a rewind button. You just hold down a shoulder button to rewind if you make a mistake, kind of like a racing game, and that works fantastic. I wish all these old NES games also on the Nintendo service had this option. If you want role-playing games, the Switch has role-playing games in spades. There's just tons of games. One of the very big hyped ones before its release was Octopath Traveler, which is okay. The combat system is nice, the graphics are nice, but it kind of lacks character because the characters in the game actually don't really interact with each other, they don't speak a lot. If you want to play a really great Japanese role-playing game with retro nostalgic feelings, I recommend waiting for Dragon Quest 11, which comes to the Switch in 2019. That's a great game. Other couple of retro style Square Enix games. I'm Setsuna. This is the Japanese version. I think it only came out digitally in the West, but if you can hunt it down, there's a physical copy in Japan with full English text. Lost Sphere, also in the same kind of retro style. Haven't played this one yet. Xenoblade Chronicles, very well made Japanese role-playing game. but maybe a little bit complex for its own good. That's just my opinion. I like my games being a little more simple than this. Well, The World Ends With You. Very great Nintendo DS game. Came out again for the Switch, but I haven't played that, as you can see, and I barely touched the original either. But it seems cool, has a lot of style. And finally we've got the latest entry in the Shining series by Sega, Shining Resonance. They kind of moved away from what the Shining games were, and this plays more like a Tales game, like Tales of Symphonia, Tales of Vesperia. There's also some quirky Western Japanese style role-playing games like this one, Golf Story. It looks a lot like a Japanese role-playing game, but it's more like a golf game. You solve every situation and adventure part by playing golf. But I haven't played this one yet either. Another game I haven't played, let's just make a list of those, is this one. This is the collector's edition of Saturday Morning RPG. Has a couple of action figures inside, and this one takes heavy 80s inspiration. So if you're not sick of that yet and still like the 80s like I do, I think this one is gonna be worth playing. I'm looking forward to playing it, at least when I have the time. And if you like shooters, you got a ton of those on the Switch as well. Here's the Psycho collections 1 and 2. There's also a third one coming. This one has a ton of Psycho's old classic shoot 'em up from the arcades. Games like Tengai, Gunbird 1 and 2, Strikers 1945, etc. And here's a Korean one, Shikonto, PlayAsia, East Asia soft release. This is a Korean developed game, which I think is very interesting. I'm always interested in seeing games from regions that you don't really see put out a lot of games. Well, Korea puts out a lot of games, but that's more on the PC, not traditional shoot-em-ups like this one. Yes, Dimension Drive, another East Asia soft release, which seems okay. I don't know, it seems a little bit weird that you have to like teleport back and forth between two screens, but it is a shoot-em-up, just like the Psycho games, but not as traditional as those types of games. Another great one, a new, a sequel to the original Cyvaria, which you might remember, Cyvaria Delta. This box is a little bit special because inside you have, apart from the game, you have this thing, which is like a small vinyl soundtrack. And here we have RXN Raijin. Speaking of games available digitally on the Switch, almost everything is there, but some games kind of come and go for some reason. I add them to my watch list in there and thinking of I'm gonna keep an eye on them and buy them later, but then I see on the watch list that they become unavailable. So that's why it's a good thing to collect physical games, because you never know, they can just take it away from one day to the other. But once it came closer to the release of this physical version, the game became available again digitally. So if you can't find it at PlayAsia or on eBay or anything, it is available digitally. Cinemora is another shoot 'em up. Cinemora EX. It's also come out a couple of times on other platforms, PlayStation 4 for instance, and Xbox One. Usually found very cheap, I bet if you're looking for a game to start your shoot 'em up collection on the Switch, you can certainly get this one on a sale if it's not on sale already for very, very cheap. But it is, even despite its cheap price, it is a pretty good game. I like it a lot. Now, if you want to talk old school kind of remasters and stuff, how about checking out Flashback Anniversary Edition? Remember Flashback? I played the demo for this quite a lot on Amiga, and now it's back again on the Switch and everywhere else. This comes with a nice steelbook case inside, and for some reason they brought Toki back. Retro Collector Edition. That's kind of cardboard or pressed wood inside, so you can like turn it in this box into an arcade cabinet or something. I know Tokyo was pretty fun in the arcade, and they made a remaster and put it out, and no one seems to talk about it. I haven't seen it mentioned anywhere. It just showed up on the store shelves, and it was pretty cheap as well. So I don't know, why not pick it up? I'll play this one of these days. Now, if you like platformers, can't go wrong with a Nintendo console. You got great games. You got Sonic Mania here, fantastic new game that kind of looks like, I don't know, people say that it looked like a 32-bit Sonic game. Maybe has a few more effects than that, but it's fantastic. It's like they get the improvements you need to make on 2D sprite art to make it look modern. It's just amazing, and it looks great, plays great, and it's widescreen and stuff. It looks crazy. Similarly, another really great and absolutely beautiful game is Shantae, Half Genie Hero. Here's the Ultimate Edition, Day 1 Edition, which has some bonus stuff in it. Game that originated a game series that originated on the Game Boy Color of all consoles, and really made it back in a big way. And of course, here's Mighty Gunvolt, the Strikers Pack, I think it's called in English. I imported the Japanese version first, as you can see, and like some of the other Switch games that you can import from Japan, this has full English in it as well. It just looks on your console region. You don't even have to choose it from the start. If you set it to set your account region to English, it just plays in English. It's amazing. And of course, there's also this one, Super Mario Odyssey. Can we talk about Mario for a second? Isn't it kind of weird how this character is just worshipped as like the default video games hero? I know I was there back in the day when Super Mario Bros. Came out, and I get that it's an important game, but come on! Isn't it weird that people per default buy anything with Mario on it and fill their room with like toys and figures of like a stocky little Italian man? Isn't that weird? Imagine if they did that with Kano instead, like a real good Russian hero, which had awesome games as well. Well, okay games. Kano, that's a guy. So Super Mario Odyssey, I don't know, he walks weird. I guess this one has a new hat in it or something. That's the new, right? There's also, of course, a Mario Kart on the system, which is an okay series. It's no Sonic All-Star Racing now. That's a kart racing game. Mario Kart is great. It's okay. It's only as good as the newest game in the series, but now the best Mario game on the system is this one. He has a gun. Real games have guns in them. You know what I'm talking about. He has a gun. This plays kind of like XCOM a little bit, strategy game. And I know some people have avoided this one because it has rabbits in them and they don't like them. But hey, at least rabbits are not minions, right? It could be worse. And some of the jokes are actually pretty funny. Now, while we're waiting for Nintendo to put out a new Metroid game on the system, why not check this one out? Axiom Verge. It's available on everything, really, but it's also on the Switch for that more authentic Nintendo feel. And it plays like a Metroidvania. You run around, shoot aliens in dark caves, and get power-ups, and they use some very interesting things that revolves around what looks like graphical glitches in the game. You've got like a gun that can iron them out and make new glitches and stuff. So it can kind of get into some meta game stuff. Hard to explain, but check this one out. It's pretty cool. Speaking of pretty cool, Bayonetta from Sega, so you know it's good. It's just a really great series. Well, I guess it's not from Sega, it's from Platinum Games, isn't it? But it has a lot of Sega love in it, especially if you play the first one. It's come out a couple of times. If you buy the Japanese version, you also get Bayonetta 1 physically. This is the collection edition for Europe, but special edition, but it only has Bayonetta 2 physically. But I already own Bayonetta 1 physically a couple of times, so why buy it again? just might as well get this one because it's a great game. And if you missed Bayonetta 1, 2, and 1 for that instance on the Wii U, then get this one, you won't regret it. Now Galgun 2, this is like your kind of Virtua Cop-esque light gun game, with a lot more story to it than the first Galgun game. There are more characters to meet and interact with. Basically, well, the part of the game is that you've been shot way too many times by Cupid's arrows by mistake, and then every girl in the school are attracted to you. So you've got to fend them off using Cupid's ray gun to pacify them with. Very interesting game. I think we'll see a lot of more of these types of games on the Switch, with what happened on the PlayStation 4 with censorship and how they're kind of reeling back on what the PlayStation is. I don't think we will see the PlayStation as the PlayStation 4 or the PlayStation 5 as being the next kind of PlayStation Vita in terms of software anytime soon. Now, before we move on, why not? Let's talk about our sponsor. Forget that, I don't have any sponsors. Who would want to sponsor these videos? I want to talk about this one, the Nintendo Switch Pro Controller. This is everything a Pro Controller should be. Great for playing on your television, or just like this on the Switch in standing mode. Stand mode, is that a thing? Not docked mode, but not using the Joy-Cons. This one's great because it doesn't have any gimmicks apart from amiibo support, but it has like 40 hours of battery life, and that's just great. A lot of consoles should strive for having as much battery life in their controllers as possible, so Pro Controllers plays great, and it is the definite way to play the Switch. Now, if you're a retro gamer like me, there's a couple of games really tickles your retro gaming heart. First one up is Puyo Puyo Tetris, which kind of mixes and matches the two classic and definitive puzzle games. Challenging, fun game, and has online multiplayer of up to like 4 people or something. It's really something worth checking out. Similarly, Wild Guns Reloaded, just an amazing game. They took the original super expensive Super Nintendo game and made it widescreen and added some extra characters and stuff. Natsume doing a really great job with new games on the Switch. And they also gonna put out Ninja Warriors again. I think it's called Ninja Warriors Yet Again in 2019. I think that might be a Switch exclusive, but I'm not sure. The longest 5 minutes from Nice, America. Nice, America games are a little bit hit or miss, but the longest 5 minutes reminds me of Half Minute Hero. And Half Minute Hero was a really great, amazing game where you had to save the world in 30 seconds. So this one I'm looking forward to digging into as well. I think I've only put it in the console once and haven't really started it up because then something else happened. But if it's anything like Half Minute Hero, I'm looking really forward to giving this one a go when I have the time. Now we're getting down to a couple of Switch games. I'm not really sure why I bought, but they look kind of cool. Count Lucan over here, for instance, it's one of those kinds of artsy pixel games where things look cute at start and then suddenly become a horror game. I don't know, I'll give it a go sometimes. And speaking of horror games, here's Deathmark, limited edition from Axis. I think this is kind of like a visual novel, but I'm getting a vibe like what's those other games called? 9 hours, 9 minutes, 9 doors, 9 persons, 9 doors. What are the names of those games? But it looks cool. I like the art style a lot. Seems like a horror game, which doesn't have kind of like flower zombies in it or something. But it's about being cursed. There's another couple of games I'm not sure why I bought. Soldan, Drop, Connect, Erase. Seems like a bit like Puyo Puyo maybe. I bought this one because I was told that it was one of the very rare PEGI rated versions of this game. So, I don't know, impulse purchase. Shaq Fu. I like side-scrolling brawlers a lot, and they were gonna take the old horrible fighting game and turn into this side-scrolling game. But I hear it's not so good, so I don't know. Maybe sometimes I'll check it out and see what it's about. Flame in the Flood, one of from Super Rare, which is one of those kind of limited run game type of things. I think this is a survival game where you're like on a raft or something. Not sure, that's usually not this kind of style of game that I really like, but I don't know, there was something kind of appealing, visually appealing about the trailers and stuff, so yeah. Speaking of visually appealing, Fallen Legion. It's a strategy game of sorts, I think. The screenshots made it look a little bit like Dragon's Crown, but it's not a brawler, it's definitely kind of like a strategy game, but I don't know, the style just looked so great that I kind of bought it, impulse purchase on a whim. Similarly, impulse purchase, Super Smash Brothers. I don't really kind of enjoy Smash Brothers to what it's become. It's gone from a party game to being like this super competitive fighting game, as they say, for some reason. But I don't know, I just kind of like to play these kinds of games for fun. And but what I'm really drawn in to this one is all kind of the references to really obscure stuff. All the obscure stuff in the Nintendo library of characters and related games that's been out on Nintendo systems. And that's in the World of Light mode. That's kind of like a single player mode of this game. And I feel like all my friends and the people I know are kind of like of similar tastes. I don't know if I can really get people together to actually play this the way it's intended, but so far I'm having fun with the single player content. Here's Battle Chasers Night War. This is a game that I kickstarted, and I kickstarted the Switch version of this, and by the time they were able to send it out, it had already come out in stores and been massively discounted. So I could have bought it up from like a fraction of the price that I kickstarted it for. Felt a little bit cheated, but it is a pretty cool game, pretty cool strategy game, and based on one of my favorite comics from when I was a kid. Retro City Rampage. This is another game that's come out everywhere and on everything, even on MS-DOS. I think they put out a version. It plays a little bit like the original GTA, top-down running around and gunning game, but then with just like a ton of 80s references all over the place. Still haven't touched this series at all. Well, not series. Still have not touched this game at all yet on either of the platform. I think I have it on PSP as well, and I haven't played that version either, so maybe one at a time. Another couple of impulse purchases. Penguin Wars, which is like a sequel to an old MSX game. MSX kind of like Windjammers style ping pong table game, if I remember correctly. And then we have Oxenfree, which is a kind of like artsy adventure game, which normally not kind of my type of game, but I watched the Giant Bomb, had a quick look of it, and it actually looks really interesting. So this one we're going to want to play as well. And finally, Gal Metal. So nice that I bought it twice. Very original rhythm game from Tak Fuji, ex-Konami employee, which is more of a rhythm game than rhythm games are, because rhythm games normally is that you just kind of like Simon Says, you just follow the patterns on the screen. This one you actually have to keep a rhythm, you have to play the drums, move your arms in your own kind of rhythm, and kind of understand the rhythm of the game, and play the tracks both in the way that you want to play, but also in a way that the game scores. It kind of scores you for playing creatively. Bought it in Japanese first. I thought we might be lucky and have some English text there. We didn't. Then I bought the English version when that one came out, and it's very good. But you definitely are helped a lot by being in English, so you can both follow the story and the tutorials and really get how to play the game. So that's pretty much my Switch collection, and that's just from a year and a half of collecting physically. As you can see, I also got a lot of digital games, and there's just a ton of games on this system, as I said before, that are great, and yeah, I think it'll have a very strong 2019 as well. So Merry Switchmas to all, and let's see if I can't get into the way of making more videos for you in 2019. Bye!